According to Canadian statistics, men live 5 years shorter than women, accounts for almost 80% of all opiate overdoses and alcohol-related deaths, and account for 75% of all suicides. Men die 70% more due to suicide deaths in the age of 15 to 64 years old, and 80% of suicide deaths in those who are aged over 65. Range of issues that affect men disproportionately is substance abuse, homelessness, and suicide, as well as the problem of male aggression and gender-based violence. Men are more likely to feel absolutely nothing when they're depressed, which could result in a misdiagnosis. 70% of men's health problems are preventable by living healthier. Who is affected? Approximately 20% of individuals will experience a mental illness during their lifetime, and then the remaining 80% will be affected by an illness in family members. Contrary to popular belief, children are not immune. Also, those whose parents are experiencing marital breakdown have higher levels of depression and tend to be more antisocial than children in stable homes. Canadians in the lowest income group are 3 to 4 more times likely than in the highest income group to report fair to poor mental health. Various Canadian cities indicate that between 23 and 67% of homeless people report having a mental illness. A recent Statistics Canada media release shows 1 in 5 Canadian adults screened positive for symptoms of depression, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress disorder during the pandemic, and of these, 68% reported their mental health had worsened since the start of COVID-19. A recent survey revealed 63% of 18 to 34-year-old Canadian men experience a considerable amount of loneliness and isolation, compared to 53% of similarly aged women. That said, Canadian women are 3 times more likely than men to seek support. Women are slightly more likely to internalize emotional pain, while men are more likely to externalize it. So, for example, women are more likely to cause self-harm by cutting their arms or legs, while men are more likely to be punching materials or getting into fights out of frustration. Why is it a problem? Mental illnesses arise from the confluence of biological and social factors. However, social and environmental influences such as poverty, history of abuse, or other emotional trauma also affects individuals. Mental illness is not simply an individual health problem. Experts say societal pressure is a big factor. We have instilled a culture in our society that men have to be tough and men have to be strong. Emotional intuition and expression are often viewed as a feminine trait, then correlated to being a sign of weakness. Men have been programmed from a young age to suck it up and not show emotion, or told that opening up is not manly. Furthermore, when men do look for help, they have a hard time finding the right kind of therapy. Men prefer informal, action-based, or group-based services rather than one-on-one talk sessions. Financial security becomes integral to their self-esteem, and threats to that security can feel stressful. Men are more likely to describe their mental health concerns as a physical symptom, such as headache or chronic pain, which our diagnostic tools tend to ignore. A breakdown of what the problem is men are expected to be the foundational pillar in many family structures. Also, the stigma of being labeled a patient or a weak link in society opposes the ideology of being an alpha male. Men are often numb or self-isolated and choose to stay silent about their negative situations. In the article, The Silent Killer of Men, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson recently revealed his battle with depression after his mother attempted suicide when he was a teenager. Quotations, "It took me a long time to realize, but the key is not to be afraid to open up. Especially us dudes have a tendency to keep it in. You are not alone." This issue is important to me because of how it affected my life or the people closest around me. I have had issues dealing with excessive physical force, numbness, and feeling nothing, and drug and alcohol dependency. I feel most of my mental issues are caused from low economic status of my youth and the marital breakdown that happened in the household. I have seen changes in the personality of my father. Financial stress has caused him not to enjoy the quality of life, fear of not providing enough for his family, and after the divorce, he was labeled a secondary parent. Also, I've had siblings and cousins reside in the psych ward and have been imprisoned in jail. Mental illness refers collectively to all mental disorders. A mental disorder is a health condition that is characterized by alterations in thinking, mood, and behavior associated with distress, impaired functioning, or both. Although we all experience problems in living and functioning in an emotional state, such problems are not necessarily seen as mental illness. They must meet specific criteria. Mental health has nevertheless been defined as the successful performance of mental function, resulting in productive activities, fulfilling relationships with other people, and the ability to adapt and to change and to cope with adversity. In the view of social interactionism, we are constantly bombarded with roles, activities, and expectations based on gender. Furthermore, labeling theory suggests help is associated with social distress. Also, the structural functionalist perspective, gender roles encourage men to frequently ignore their health due to financial and family obligations. Finally, conflict perspective. Poverty restricts access to health. Also, profit motive in the workforce can cause illness, injury, and death from hazardous working conditions. What do we do about this situation? I suggest we remove the stigma of men seeking help. We need to focus on prevention, early intervention, and health promotion. Our most essential tools are means of communication and awareness distribution, which is economically cheap. Since 2003, Movember has helped launch 1,200 programs directed to men's health around the world, such as Brothers Through Boxing. We need to give men the facts, change the behavior for the better, create services that work for men, listen to the community, and advocate for men. There is a process called Spot a Bro Who Is Feeling Low, and it is ask, listen, encourage action, and then check in. Other things we could do would be social media awareness and hashtag men's MH Day, or grow a mustache in the month of November, and in general just try to avoid stigmas. Organizations in the community that are making a difference is CMHA, Canadian Mental Health Association. They recognize June 15th for Men's Mental Health Awareness Day. Movember, globally on average, 1 man dies every minute of every day. They would want to reduce this rate by 25% by 2030. Kamloops This Week is a newspaper in British Columbia, and they covered articles about marathons to raise money for men and men's health wellness resources Zoom events. The Book of Man is an online subscription for men with sections of mind, body, skills, columnists, and community. Good mental health may look different from one guy to another, but there are 6 common factors of well-being that are part of it, which include a sense of purpose, strong relationships, feeling connected to others, having a good awareness of self, coping with stress, and enjoying life. We can meditate, connect with friends, exercise, get a pet, take a deep breath, reboot your relationship, spend quality time with your friends. Eat well, learn how your body works, have a customized health plan, and take your multivitamins. Health is a bigger interconnected issue than previously thought. I can now identify some of the causes. I learned how closely related physical health is to mental health. I know how to seek help if needed. It's not just personal issues, but looking at a macroscopic level that many societal pressures affect the individual. In between the age of 15 and 25 who live in poverty in urban areas have the highest crime margin in Canadian society. Also, a symptom of their depression is the male aggressiveness. Helping these people would lower the crime rate in Canada. It is believed that men do not know how to communicate properly. We have the ability, but it lies dormant and it is not used often. Traditionally, men were expected to be the strongest member of the family, to be the breadwinner and fix problems. Giving up some of that responsibility may result in better health. That all bro time has to be associated with high testosterone or dangerous activities, such as drinking, fighting, or extreme sports. Values of strength should not be a quiet man who fixes all his own issues. Seeking help should not be associated with low testosterone or a weak male. We are more comfortable with 2 men fighting than 2 men kissing each other. In UFC, boxing, and football are heavily promoted. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope I effectively enlightened you on the situation, and I hope you learned something. And remember to listen and just be aware.